Welcome to the MMHP and the 989. Podcasting from the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame in downtown Bay City. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history. From the city by the bay. And now, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and your host, Scott Baker.
We're podcasting from the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame at the Historical Museum of Bay County, located at 321 Washington Avenue in downtown Bay City.
Well, another Michigan rocker just passed away.
Who's that?
I put it on my Facebook thing. Newt Cole from Newt and the Salamanders.
Oh, I saw
They
you
used to
posted
play
that,
here
yeah.
all the time at the Fordney. Very popular band. I'm sure. He used to play at the Fordney in Saginaw all the
once.
time.
Did you ever see that?
Probably. I don't remember
Did
it.
a lot of Frank Zappa stuff. Nobody did Frank Zappa.
Right.
That was a great band.
They were a great band. Newt and the Salamanders.
Well, here we are at the Rock Hall of Fame here, the Rock Legends Hall of Fame here in Bay City, Michigan, for another round of the MMHP and the 989. And we've been delivering here in the fall some spectacular artists that have not yet been able to touch our podcast, and we are grateful to have them. And Dr. J pulled in a good one tonight. Mr. Mark Sanders is in the house. How you doing, Mark?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. We've got your backstory here, and we've heard a lot of stuff over the past year, so here and there, on when we hear your name pop up, and we want to get it all documented tonight, if you don't mind.
I'm thrilled to do that for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the cool thing is, and I was just thinking about this the other day, you started out in a folk group.
Oh, yeah.
And, thinking back when I was in high school, how big folk music
Oh,
was.
it was the biggest.
Oh, a Kingston Trio and,
Well, there was a television show.
well, yeah,
Peter,
Hoot
Paul, and
Nanny.
Mary.
Yeah, Peter,
And we
Paul,
had
and
a
Mary.
girl, so we were that,
Yeah,
the guys and the girl,
they were my favorite. My wife was in a group similar to that in high school, too.
And we were rock and roll snobs, too.
Yeah.
That was a big part.
But, I don't know, unless you grew up at that time, you could appreciate what a sea change it was when the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. The 60s really started in 1964 on the Ed Sullivan Show. Yep. Before that was kind of like the 50s. But yeah, and think about, you guys did the same thing that David Crosby, Jim McGuinn, and Gene Clark did, all folk singers,
Yep.
inspired by the Beatles, started a rock band, which became the Byrds. John Sebastian, the Lovin' Spoonful.
Yep.
Trying to think who else here. Oh, John Phillips with the Mamas and the Papas. Man, then Bob Dylan goes rock and roll, So, wow, yeah, what an amazing
the very
time.
next day after the Ed Sullivan appearance, I went out and bought a pickup for my 12-string guitar. That's how quick I wanted to get into this.
Now.
Yeah.
And then talk about perfect timing, just about shortly after you guys are playing as a rock band, the Blue Light opens.
Yep.
Can you kind of tell us, you were right there at the very beginning of the Blue Light.
Yep.
Can you kind of tell us about how that started and
Yeah,
what
sure.
you guys did?
Well, Hirsch Goodwald had moved here from Pennsylvania, and he was a Knights of Columbus guy, and that was the Knights of Columbus Hall. And he was putting on dances there just because he loved rock and roll, and he had all these records. I mean, thousands of them. He was a collector. So every Saturday night, he would put on a dance, and it was just an empty hall, except for they had 3 bowling alleys in there with human pin setters. That's how
That's awesome.
arcane it was. But I was just 2 blocks away, my house, and I heard about this, and I went over there and trying to get my band going. And so I asked him, "You mind if we played?" Nothing about hiring us or anything like that, and he said, "Sure, no problem." And we started doing that, and then he started booking us, and then he got the idea to do his own teen club there, and we were in there building and painting and got the whole thing going. We were the house band then from then on.
So you were probably the first band to play at the Blue Light.
Oh,
then.
absolutely, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I know you gave us some biographical information, and you mentioned that you opened for the Shadows of Night,
Oh, yeah.
the Animals,
Yep.
question mark, and the Mysterians, who were riding their big hit at that
Yeah,
time.
more than once.
Yeah.
For those guys, yeah.
So can you tell us any stories interesting about, well, like the Animals? I think the original Animals broke up shortly after they played the Blue Light.
They were not happy to be in Midland, Michigan. They were like, who would book us in a little town like this, right? And the first thing they said when they got there, you want us to play? We'll need $1,000 more. So these guys that had the Blue Light had to go get $1,000 and give it to them. And they were very belligerent, especially Eric Burton. And he insisted on drinking beer for the entire set. He had it sitting out on a music stand turned up like this. And I mean, totally illegal.
Yeah.
And everybody was just walking on, pin because, they could walk out at any time. So, but they did their show. They did 2 shows.
Okay.
We had one during the day for the younger kids.
Yeah, that was pretty typical in the teen clubs.
Yeah. So they played both of those.
How did they sound? Were they still pretty good?
Fantastic. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they were a great band.
They were
That's
a
for
great
certain.
band. Eric Burton, what a singer.
Yeah. You still got the great voice after all these years. How about the Shadows of Night? I was a big fan of Gloria and Oh Yeah,
Yep.
a couple of their early singles. That first album, I still have it.
Yeah.
What were they pretty good live as
Oh,
well?
they were real good live. They were talking about how the song took off and they weren't ready for it. They didn't even have equipment or anything. So they had to, hurry up and get the band together and buy a van. It was kind of just a studio project. That's all it was, But the funny thing about them is that we had this funny smell coming out of the dressing room before I knew what that smell was. So we had no idea, but they were great guys, just regular guys. There was waiting time between the night show and the afternoon show, and they just played catch.
Yeah, that's what Vicky Cox said, that she remembered them out throwing a football around outside of the Blue Light, and just typical
regular
guys. Yeah, they, the Rationals had also recorded a version of Gloria.
Yeah.
That was, I thought, a little bit better actually than the Shadows of
Rationals,
Night.
I
But
love those guys.
oh man, but the Shadows of Night beat them to the punch.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that you can still find that Rationals version of Gloria on some of the compilations that are out there. But
we had the guts to play that song when they were there
ooh,
appearing.
That's awesome.
I look back on that now and I thought, man, what were we doing?
yeah. Well, that was such a big bar band song, for that whole summer and however long that was on the charts. I mean, everybody was playing that song.
Anybody can play it.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
an easy
it's
song.
exactly.
So that's fine.
Yeah. So how long did the Rogues last?
The Rogues went on. I left the Rogues and went with the Next Exit Blues Band. That was a mutual decision. I got tired of being at the Blue Light. That was there's a big world out there, I wanted to get out and play. And, but they became the first version of the Seventh Court. They merged with another band, and they had 2 drummers. Hirsch is the promoter of this, see? And his motto was dueling drums in 5 dimensions.
Whoa.
And they played all over, and they did a record. Dick Wagner produced a record for them. I guess it got played on KNX or something. But,
Now, I saw a picture, and they had some outfits on that
oh, yeah.
I didn't think were really that cool looking, to say the
He
least.
loved the New Colony Six, who had kind of that Paul Revere and the Raiders look. So he dressed these guys up, and I call them elf suits. To me, that's what they look like.
Yeah, they look almost like medieval.
Yeah.
That was a long way from cool. I don't know.
I said, that I'm sure glad I missed that phase
Yeah,
of it.
really.
But then they ended up quitting Hirsch. So he hired a whole new group, same thing. I mean, 4 or 5 times. And then I was in the last one. I was a drummer. So that was the horn band. You probably heard that.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
one of the things I sent you.
So you got to know Dick Wagner a little bit?
Oh yeah, quite a bit.
Yes,
Want to hear a funny story about Dick
well,
Wagner?
certainly, yeah. He was the mainstay of the Blue Light, I know.
Oh yeah. So anyways, Kirsch asked Dick if he would give us some advice because we were just starting out. So we went backstage, and Dick, for some reason, is focused on the drummer. This is Paige McDonald. And he said, it's really important to have a good drummer. You guys have a really good drummer. Now, that's all I remember, the advice. We come in the next night, and the drum riser had been moved to the front of the stage.
Wow.
So here we are trying to play around the drum riser. This is where Dick was, he was way up there with us younger guys.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So we took it to heart, I guess. At least one of us did.
Yeah, well, that was one of the cool things about Dick Wagner is that he was a mentor for a lot of the young bands around that time.
Great guy.
Produced a number of great little 45s, and
Yep.
very cool. So another thing is a lot of interest to me, and I think our team here as well, because we had Daniel Ralston here this summer, who is the writer who really blew up this story about the fake zombies. And in fact, Daniel has a big podcast that is about to debut here, I would think, in a few weeks or months, on just the fake zombies, and he's got all kinds of big-time guests and so on. But I found it real interesting when I talked to you that you were employed for a while by Delta Promotions, which was all about this, and that you actually were offered to go out on the road.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, what happened was that I didn't know this was going on. I was hired to book local bands into teen clubs. That's what my thing was. I was just trying to hook up with a band myself, and I figured that was a good place to do it, which I did. I hooked up with this Canadian band, and I went up to Canada, and when I came back, the place was just shut down. So that's...
You missed it.
Well, I was before I left, I was on to what he was doing. He didn't make no bones about it. Totally normal to him, I guess.
Well, I guess, you could buy the name. That was, it really didn't even cost very much money to actually buy a group name. It all came down to, just the morality of, are you telling people that this is a band that had the hits and you're putting somebody else out there?
Band,
Well, that's it. That's what has to be done now.
Yeah.
Because even I would think when Winona Parks started booking acts coming in, I can remember specifically the Marvelettes coming in and performing, and there are these young gals that are, like in their late 20s or something like that, talking about our hits and then when this was the top of the charts, and you could get away with doing that. But it was actually Mary Wilson and a number of other artists that passed a bill that you cannot bill yourself as in a group unless you have at least one original member.
Right.
So that's why everything is a tribute band today. Otherwise, with people out coming to Winona Park saying they're the Eagles and ABBA and everything else.
I think what led to this was that he made a fake version of the Archies.
Oh yeah.
They had that Sugar Honey Honey song.
Yeah.
But there was never a band. It was just a studio group that played it, put it out, it became a big hit. Now everybody and his brother was making a fake Archies. And nobody really went after him.
Well,
for a while.
the problem was, Don Kirshner had the rights to the song, and the Archie Comics had the rights to the images.
Yep.
And so that was the downfall of Bill Kehoe.
But then it was like an addiction. Once he got that going, I think that's what spurred him on to try all these other ones.
Sure. What kind of guy was Kehoe? Did most people said he was a pretty decent fella.
He seemed all right. I didn't have that much to do with him. I dealt with a secretary, somebody like that, do a contract for these guys. I booked these guys here. They need a contract. That was the extent of my involvement,
Okay.
I played drums for an organ player who was going to be in the fake Animals, just so he could play along with the drummer before I left. So that was it for me.
Yeah, Bob Baldori was approached to be in the Animals too.
Was he?
of the Woolies.
Yeah.
Again, the
Bob.
keyboard player. Yeah, that was real interesting. He had written a musical that was kind of based on the adventures of the Woolies in the music business.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the little, I don't know if you call it a chapter or one of the things, being approached to, be the Animals.
He had a studio in East Lansing, and that's where the Next Exit played a lot, because they were
okay.
in school down there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
we
Chuck
knew them
Berry
very well.
recorded an album there at that studio.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, the Woolies were his backing band. Well, tell us a little bit about, there's one thing that you were playing at the Safari Club in Muskegon, and they had a stripper.
Yeah, this is the thing. We were playing nothing but teen clubs.
And this is the
This
next
is-
exit or the
No, this
seventh
is-
court?
We went to the Next Exit, and after the seventh court, we had like 9 people in the seventh court. Some of them went back to school eventually, or became teachers or whatever. But 4 of us, guitar player, bass player, me on drums, and a sax and flute player, went off and did a 4-piece. And we played an extended thing at the Ginger Blue in Saginaw, which was a great gig. Coffee house, still no alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So that ended. And now the change had come on the drinking age, and everything was bars. So we got booked. The first bar we played was the Safari Club. What a rude awakening. Yeah, Kimchi the China Doll. Took them off between every set. And we were supposed to play the music behind her, but she had her own records too, so she ended up doing that. We didn't know how to do that. But our little innocent horn player tried to talk her out of her career choice every chance he got while we were there. So she just sat with him and listened to it, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Talk about one extreme to the other, little innocent teen club to the Safari Club.
Yeah, wow.
Yikes.
So what's next after, your experience at the Safari Club? This is the Jewels?
Yeah, the Jewels would have been the guitar player from the Seventh Court and I. And it was interesting because a lot of the people in our neighborhood, people we went to school with, were all playing music. So we took our friends and put a band together, and we had a nice little run. We played a lot of bars and stuff. So it was a good band. About 5-piece.
Okay, because the teen club was gone then.
Yeah, that was over.
Yeah, that was the whatever was left of it. With the final nail in the coffin was the drinking age
Yep,
change.
that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Too bad.
And the music business changed too. You couldn't get
Yeah.
bands like the Animals or the Shadows of Night.
That's true.
They were asking way too much money.
Yep.
For the teen clubs to be able to book anybody like that. But, for a few years, it was pretty interesting, though, that you saw a
that
lot
was
of
a
top-notch
great
entertainment.
time.
Yeah.
Just a great time to be playing and just that whole scene was just fabulous.
In the Tri-Cities, really, the Blue Light in Midland, Daniels Den and the Wyagogo and Saginaw,
Yep.
Band Canyon and Roll Air in Bay City. It was
Yep.
just phenomenal.
And it was all kids, There
Right.
was no hardcore guy drinking and passing out at the bar and all
Yeah,
that
and
stuff.
it kind of predated the drug scene, too.
It did, yeah.
So, that became a lot harder to control
Right.
after that started moving in the late 60s. And, they kind of changed the scene, too.
Yep. So yeah, we played this one gig in Muskegon that was just fabulous. It was a bar, but all these black guys that were in soul bands and stuff kept coming to watch us, and we're talking about their groups and our groups, and they really liked us and we liked them, and that was just a fun stay there. We stayed there for quite a while.
Yeah, that the west side of Michigan, at least in the 60s, there seemed to be kind of a soul music scene there. You know, Al Green started there
Oh, I didn't
with
know
his
that.
band at Creations.
Chick
Junior,
Willis.
yeah, Junior Walker and the All Stars. You know, Battle Creek, they were playing there for years.
Oh, wow.
You know, before they really hit it big with Motown. In fact, they rode Shotgun
Yeah, oh,
at the old El Grotto in Battle Creek. So, yeah, cool stuff.
And you are an encyclopedia of this stuff.
Well,
I've learned
yeah.
so much from you just in the short time we've known each other. It's fabulous.
Well, the website's all about that, you know, so
Yeah, that's
I
great.
dig deep into it.
I knew there was a lot of music here, but I didn't know the extent of it really. But Motown, I mean, come on.
Well, yeah.
Jeez, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know when the Motown, do you guys know when is the, I think it's partially open, isn't it? The
There's a
five,
museum
the,
there,
well,
yeah.
the
I'm not
$500
sure yet.
million expansion in Detroit. I mean, it's really going to be pretty
Yeah, they're
spectacular.
going to have a venue there and everything.
Yeah.
I've been there like 3 or 4 times already, but just to the small.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was in the
The
small
Hitsville.
one.
I'd go
yeah.
again. I mean, I loved it.
Well, it was fabulous.
You
You
get
know,
to go down in the snake pit, and it looks like they just walked out of the studio, doesn't it?
Right.
Everything's still there. The cords are on the wall.
Right.
What a feeling, you just feel like
for sure. And such a small area, and you think about all the
those
great
records,
songs
yeah.
that were recorded there. I mean,
live performances.
yeah,
That's what gets me. I mean,
yeah.
all of those people, and they recorded live.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't, they kept the original Hitsville. That's going to stay intact.
Oh, that's good.
And everything, all the big expansion with all the fancy stuff, whatever they're going to have there, that's all going to be behind the original Hitsville.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too. You wouldn't want to mess with, that original building there. That's way too much history and memories there for everybody.
Did you go up to the Barry Gordy's apartment?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think about, they're putting the stickers, with the labels
Right.
on the records, and
And as
wow.
they grew, they bought the next house down the block. That's what gets me. Well, make this the A&R.
Yeah, they had,
facility.
I don't know how many houses they had at
They
the
had the whole
end.
block at the
Yeah,
end, I
I know,
think.
4 or 5 houses, the
Yeah.
different things going on in each house. And yeah, well, that was where everything I've read about, that was where the good old days of
man.
Motown. And when they moved to that building downtown, the great big, I don't think the building is even there anymore. Do you remember what that building was down there, Fred?
During that time, I just kind of didn't follow Motown as much.
Yeah, they said it became much more corporate
Oh, sure, yeah.
than,
It wasn't that
it wasn't the little family type atmosphere that they had originally, but Motown was so big by that time, and they were planning to make the move to California, which that was a dark time in Michigan music history when
Yeah.
they moved
I
out
watched
of
a
Detroit.
documentary last night on the first Motown European tour or British tour,
Oh yeah,
and hardly anybody came,
right.
apparently.
Well, their records weren't released yet in England at that
okay.
time, I don't think. Dusty Springfield was a big driving force to
Right.
getting Motown over to England, but it didn't take long though. Once I think they got on, was that part of the program where they got them on Ready Steady Go?
Yeah.
And then everything turned around once the kids, all the British kids were watching Ready, Steady, Go. That was kind of like the American bandstand of Great Britain. And once they got on there, then, yeah, everything changed.
Well, they sure had the artist, didn't they?
Oh, yeah,
My
fantastic.
gosh, what a
Yeah.
lineup.
So now getting back to your music career, you've taken so many different turns.
Oh, yeah.
And in the 70s, you got into country music?
Well, yeah, that was a funny thing because I was just jamming with some people from Bay City here. And we were actually had a little studio down on Marquette Street down by the water there.
Okay. Do you remember any names here?
Yeah, Mark Long, Royce Wilbanks, the drummer, Mark Boyce, Mike Boyce was the
Okay.
drummer.
I don't know. Does that ring a bell to any of you guys? I didn't know these
But
guys.
that name of the band, the Wild West Show?
Well, what happened was
Somewhere I
they had
remember that.
original songs, and I had some original songs, and they had never played out. And we just get together and play these original songs. And I was drumming freelance, filling in for people and that type of thing. I wasn't really working full-time at music or anything. But I thought, this is stupid. I got a band I'm playing with all the time. Why don't I do the country thing was huge then. It was like Urban Cowboy. Remember that? All that stuff.
Yeah.
So we just did that. We learned all these songs. We went out and were very successful. We played every weekend. Well, then a little later, we played Chuck Berry songs just to give them something to dance to, the country crowd. And that's what they really liked. And then the 50s thing came along, Happy Days. And there were all these bands, Moose and the Sharks, remember them?
Yeah, I certainly do. They're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's
Flash, was it Flash and the Cadillac Kids? What was the guy's
Myron
name?
and the Deltrons. I forget what the girls, they had a girl group too that was featuring the So-and-So sisters or whatever.
Yeah, the Cadillac Kids played at Delta. When Delta was having all those concerts there all the time. I can't think of the guy's name. Flash somebody in the Cadillac Kids.
Wasn't it KIDZ?
Yes, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of them. It was a big thing. And so we decided we're going to do that.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of 50s dances around here. Dan Kretschmann, the guy that was for years, he had the 7-Eleven on Broadway. He would have dances like at St. Hyacinth's Gym. It would be absolutely packed with people,
Oh, yeah.
just playing nothing but 50s music.
Well, we would play
was a real
high
big
schools
deal.
and colleges was our big thing. And in high schools, we were coming in at the end of 50s week. And they were dressing up, playing the role, the Happy Days role. But we had alter egos. We were acting as, Spike and Angel, and we had all these skits. I did the Monster Mash with, I had a stained lab coat with a spider on my shoulder and a fog machine. I did Teen Angel. I had we had different costumes for every set. I had a shredded varsity jacket, and I had a steering wheel and a column out of a wrecked car. And I would go with the hand mic out and sing in the crowd. And right towards the end, I would break down.
Right,
And
the teen tragedy song.
Find a girl to cry on her shoulder, and then she would pat me and say, "It's all right." And I'd come back and finish the song on one knee. I mean, we're the Ham City.
Oh, my God,
They
yeah.
ate it up,
Was that the Slick City Rockers?
Slick City Rockers,
I remember that name too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course, and we remember that Eddie and the Eat-Outs
Right.
with our friends.
That's a little borderline.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they ever put that on any of the marquees. That was just like
No.
they
That
would
was,
come
it was
out.
the Gilmore Brothers.
Yeah,
And then if it felt right, they went in the back room and they came out as Eddie and the Eat-Outs.
oh yeah, that was pretty funny. They used to do stuff like that. One time they had a police officer had one of them handcuffed, and brought him in to perform. They would just let him out of jail in order to perform at the Holiday Inn. It was funny stuff.
Oh, yeah. The drummer would come out we had a tricycle that was chromed, had pipes, it had flash bombs in it. He would come pulling up to the stage, blow the flash bombs, and somebody in the band would say, "Hey, man, Killer was his name. Killer, that's quite a nice ride, man. What do you call it?" "Well, it's Grease Lightning." Well, that was from the movie Grease.
Oh, sure.
So we'd rip into that.
Right, perfect. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Everybody had 2 skits. That was the deal.
So how long did that last? That sounded like you guys were having a lot of fun with
Oh,
that.
yeah. Probably 4 or 5 years, I would think, till the fad ran out. you know.
Right. Yeah, as all things do.
Yep.
All right. So then is this when you moved to Northern Michigan?
Well,
And then in the band forever?
we came up to, we did a lot of other gigs first before we went up north. But we got this 4-night-a-week gig in Frankfurt area up there. I don't know if you guys have ever been up there. Just a beautiful area up there.
Yeah.
And we ended up staying there a year. 4 nights a week. And when we're done, of course, the band wants to go back on the road. And I said, I'm out. You can't get any better than this. I'm staying.
Yeah, that's a beautiful part of Michigan, that's
Yeah.
for sure. So then, do you give up music at this point for a while, or?
No, I had a band called the Shakers. And we
I
played,
remember them.
yeah, and we played a classic rock, but we were all blues guys.
Right.
So whenever we could get away with it, we would shift into playing blues. In fact, we bluesed ourselves out of a few gigs, but we had a great time. It was a fabulous band. That I have a live recording of too, which is really good.
So you had a female singer, Gwen
No.
Frostick, or?
No, Gwen Frostick was an artist that I went to work for him in the day job.
Oh, okay.
And she, fabulous person. She had 300-acre wildlife sanctuary right on the Betsy River. She had a showroom, and you would come in, and there'd be all of her prints, her nature prints and stuff. And she had books that she'd written and illustrated with these block prints. But you'd look over the railing, and we'd be down there running these printing presses, these old letter presses. And her theory was that nothing people like seeing more on vacation than somebody working. And she was right. They just lean over and ask you the dumbest questions you can imagine. Those things run on steam. That's the one that sticks in my mind. But I was always playing on weekends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is Gwen no longer with us, or?
Yeah, she passed at 92. I left a couple years ahead of that. I worked there for 14 years.
Wow.
She came up north from Detroit. She came up north with $1,000 in a hand feed press. When she died, she left $30 million to Western Michigan University.
My
Fairly
gosh.
successful.
I would say so. Fantastic. Is her place still, did she sell it, or?
She gave it to a friend of hers, basically.
Okay. Did they kind of keep it going,
Kept her
or?
going for a few years. Her one nephew was a press operator. He stayed on and helped with it for a while. And then it was sold. They got into tax trouble, I think, these people. They had a restaurant up there, too. That's what I heard. So they sold it, and somebody else took it over. I don't know how many times it's been sold, but it's up again for sale. But it's quite a few $1 million for the place.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
don't
It
know
sounds like a
how-
beautiful spot.
Oh, it's gorgeous there. I mean,
Yeah. I'm sure some millionaire will pick it up.
Oh, yeah. Didn't the Shakers play in Saginaw a lot? 'Cause I-
no, we played up. There was another band, I think, called the Shakers that you're thinking of, much
a
earlier.
trio, I think.
Yeah, I
Kind of
think,
a rockabilly.
I think I saw them once at Putters up in Sanford. They didn't last long. But this was way down the line from that. And I thought, well, this name isn't being used. That's a great name. Let's go for it. So, but yeah, the Shakers was one of the best bands I was in.
Okay. Now, is this around the time where you met your wife up north?
My second wife.
Your second wife?
Yep. And that's when I moved up to Traverse, where she was from.
Okay.
So life in the big city now, you know.
Yeah.
The things we do, you know. I thought I'd be in Frankfurt forever.
Yeah, well, Traverse City has really grown over the
Oh, my
years. You've
God.
seen
Full
a
tilt
big
now.
change, there, no
It's
doubt.
like a smaller Ann Arbor.
Yeah, it's really out of control. And she grew up there, my wife. Her dad was a sheriff for 30 years. And she actually grew up in the jail building. They had the sheriff's quarters in the building. So what I always kid her about, I said, at least Annie and Barney got to go home at night. You know? But, you know, everybody knows her that. She said she could clear out a hippie party, and like that, just walk in the door.
Yeah, sheriff's daughter.
Yeah.
That's a big burden to carry,
Yeah, it is a big
when you're
burden.
young. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Or the same thing if you were the sheriff's son. So this is when you started doing your own thing, your own
Yeah, my own-
original music.
Yeah. Mark Sanders band.
Yeah, when did that begin? What was the first? What year did that kind of start?
Boy, that's a good question. 20 years ago, maybe.
Okay,
Thinking about how long I've been married,
all right,
it's hard to know when it actually started. But
okay.
there's a page on that on Facebook with of that band that has a lot of video and stuff on it too. It's just Mark Sanders' band.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll check that out. So, where did you record? I mean, is there a studio up there, or
No,
are you doing like
I
a
learned
home?
to do it myself.
So you've got like your own home studio?
Well, now now with the digital stuff, man, to have that in your house is fantastic. It's unbelievable. Anybody that takes the time to learn how to operate that stuff and has talent can make a record that sounds totally pro.
Well, our host, Scott Baker, is pretty knowledgeable about such matters. Okay, Scott, maybe you could kind of weigh in here on what you've done with, is it Pro Tools? Is that what you're working with?
Yeah, I use Pro Tools for the podcast as well as in my studio when musicians come through or making my own records. Actually, when Andy Reid went Pro Tools in our area, he said, just go Pro Tools. That way we're all across the board, like pro studio ready. Now, I had worked with Wagner for 3 years at Downtown Digital, and that was taking we did DAT tape, at the time, but we were getting into Nuendo, which was Steinberg's version of Pro Tools. So I was slowly looking at that, Ray York was doing a lot of that work at the time, but it didn't take long before Andy went from reel to reel, from the Haskells to Chad Cunningham, I think, at Bullfrog Records, got a digital board out there. And Andy called me and he's like, I'm going Pro Tools. And, I was talking to Wagner after he moved to Arizona. He's like, Pro Tools is everywhere. It's the standard. So
I use Logic.
Yeah. And as I say, there's people that use Logic and across the board, they're all wonderful. But I've really familiarized myself. And then over COVID, I really honed in on it. And now I record with musicians from around the world.
You know how I learned to record on that stuff?
Oh.
YouTube,
yeah. This is another great way. Teach yourself how to...
Music tech help guy.
Oh, absolutely.
He'll answer any question you can think of.
It's wonderful when you learn the tricks of the trade. And,
it is.
After you learn proper miking and sound isolation, to go to Pro Tools, or to go to any editing software.
I record everything direct except for the vocals. And I have a U87 Neumann mic for that.
Oh, wow.
Well, when you hear this, you'll hear how I did.
Good stuff. Expensive.
I've had a lot of airplay with this stuff. That's just great.
Where do you find your airplay for your music?
Well, I'm big in Britain. They really like American blues guys. 2 of these were blues albums, and also Australia. But the thing is I don't follow up in the States here. The thing about overseas is they want America to hear it, so they put it up on a streaming service. What's the one with put up the...
Like Spotify?
No, this is free, though. It's just...
it's the Orange Music, sound something or other.
No.
But anyway, DistroKid distributes it all nowadays.
Yeah, they put it up there. They put all their shows up there, and then on Facebook they say, check out our show, and because nobody can get it, directly. So that's what they do. So I pull that down and make a little advertisement out of it. Basically, I can take my section and what they say about me. They've been very flattering, but I'm just not up to following up after I submit it to 300 or 400 stations in the U.S. I wait and see if the Spotify checks come in and stuff, but I'm not going to go back and follow up on every show that I, gave us to. You'd have to hire somebody to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Are you playing in support of your music? I mean, do you have a spot where you can go out and...
No, I'm retired from playing live.
Oh, you don't play it live at all?
I'm strictly recording now.
Okay.
This is what my dream was. I want to make records. I didn't care about... Playing out was fun, and when you're young, it's more fun. But once I mastered this skill, that was it,
Well, you're kind of following the Beatles in that regard, too.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I play everything on here except for the bass player. I could play bass, but he he begged me to play, and he's really good. So
Okay.
You're talking about tonight somewhere?
all of them.
Oh, okay.
We've done these one a year for the past 4 years.
Wow.
We're just about to release another one now.
Wonderful.
Now, your wife played keyboards, though, for a while when you were performing, right?
Oh, yeah. But she doesn't have the patience for that. She sings backup for me.
Oh, okay.
And that's-
So
she
she
does a
still
great
kind of
job.
keeps her hand in it a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice that you can share that, though. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it's,
She's
I'm sure.
so supportive of it and
Yeah.
everything.
All right.
it's-
So what does your wife do?
She works retail downtown. She actually was a vocational therapist.
Oh, okay.
And she actually has 2 master's degrees in that and everything. But she's, we're getting up there.
Well, yeah.
You can't work the day job forever.
Well, that's nice, and I'm sure you'll enjoy retirement. My wife and I certainly do.
Oh, absolutely. To
Yeah.
have that amount of time to do this too, it's just
Yeah. Yeah, it's
it
awesome.
takes time.
But
You know.
we didn't touch on your family. I know you included in the bio you gave us that your family was very much into music, which
Oh, yeah.
probably I'm sure was a big kind of, I don't know what, incentive or inspiration for you to
Oh,
get involved when you were young.
Midland has the Dow Music Society, and they put on Broadway shows. And my dad played the lead in every one of them. In fact, one time he didn't want to be in one, and they said, "We're not making this if you don't take the lead." I mean, he just had it. He was offered to go to New York and become a star and everything, but after World War II, these guys wanted calm life, just a regular life, So
So what did he do in Midland?
he worked for Dow, and then he worked for a printing company after that.
Did he know Hirsch when he worked at Dow? Because Hirsch was
Yeah,
employed by
Hirsch
Dow,
was
wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he's a chemist.
Yeah.
My dad was a purchasing agent,
Oh, okay,
so they
different.
never would have crossed
Yeah.
tracks. But he actually was a purchasing agent that went to work for a printer. So it's kind of a shame.
Okay.
But what a voice. And you could hear him on, if you go to YouTube to Mark Sanders Music, there are lots of recordings of these bands I've been in, and there are recordings of my dad also. Fantastic singer, everybody says. So
How were those recorded? With your dad doing the vocals, were they just recorded, right from the performances?
no. I pestered him for years to come up to my studio and record.
Oh,
He finally
okay.
did it.
Okay.
And he did pop songs from his era.
Oh, nice.
It was great.
So your dad has passed, I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
yeah.
But that's so nice that you have a record
Oh, yeah.
of his talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he wouldn't have come up and you wouldn't have done that, that would have been lost,
Yeah.
forever. That's
There
pretty cool.
There are live recordings of the shows and that somewhat, but of course they're
Yeah.
like they're a million miles away.
Right. Yeah. That's
Somebody in the audience or whatever.
It's hard to, record things live and get the quality that,
Yep.
unless it's set up for actual recording a live concert. Yeah, it's difficult.
You do like Something's Gotta Give by Sammy Davis Jr. Just that sort of 40s thing. But we grew up with this going on, and we used to go on dress rehearsal night and hang out backstage and watch them put their makeup on and the whole bit.
Were there instruments around the house too? Is that how that started?
My mom was a piano player. Yeah.
But you gravitated to the guitar and then drums, right?
Well, you got to get the right piano teacher. If you get the piano teacher that wants to teach you Bach and make you study music theory and the history of Bach, it isn't going to work out for a young guy,
Yeah.
Didn't have the patience. But then the folk thing came along.
Yeah.
And it was obvious. Guitar.
So did your piano teacher inspired you to take up the guitar? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, she inspired me not to take up the piano.
That's right.
But,
I saw
Peter,
a
Paul,
picture.
and Mary inspired me on the guitar.
Well, yeah, they were so great.
They were fabulous.
I saw a picture on your Facebook page of you and your brother. Your brother was playing a banjo.
Oh, yeah. That was at Grandma's house at Christmas time. I call it my first gig.
Cool.
The one with the dog sitting there looking at it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go into show business after that. Right?
Well, there you are.
One of your old bandmates, Al Finney, You said he lives in Sweden?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
he's
know
lived
he
for
lives-
years there, yeah.
Right. I wish I'd have knew that when we were there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, we toured there with Lazy Lester
Oh,
in 89 and 90
oh yeah.
for 5 weeks.
He's got a new album out. Did you hear that? Have you
No.
heard it? I'll have to send you the link. It's he's got a streaming there, so it's really good. I think it's his best one so far. But he lived in Paris or in France for a while, and he had a hit record over there, pretty much. But it's so hilarious because he's singing in French, but it sounds like Al Finney.
Okay.
You know, he just this. It was
There's another guy, I can't think his name right now, but he goes to Jamaica in the winter. He's
that's
from
Terry
Midland.
Gillespie.
That's it.
Oh yeah, he was down taking care of his parents in Midland at one time, and I just happened to see him online somewhere, and I said, how are you doing? I haven't talked to you in a long time. He said, well, seems I'm in Midland right now. So we got together and jammed a little bit, and we ended up playing a couple of gigs together, just him and me. It's kind of old home week.
So is he playing reggae down there?
Well, he goes down in the winter,
Okay.
and they play reggae and blues, and they work for this one resort that he always works for. I don't know if they have a deal where they just room and board. I don't know what the deal is, but then he moves back up to Canada and does that on the nicer part of the year in Canada, you might say. So,
That guy that wrote that book on Midland rock and roll, I tried to get him to be on the podcast, but I think he moved or something. Or
Well,
he wasn't interested.
his wife has dementia, for one thing, so he
okay.
can't go anywhere. My bass player is the other editor, though,
Ah.
Mike O'Brien. He'd probably come on. He was in a lot of local bands.
Randy Markey let me look at his copy, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You believe how many people, how many musicians there were in little old Midland?
I had no idea.
I know. Crazy. Yeah, he worked long and hard on that. The guy that wouldn't do it. Think I could bring up his name?
I can't think of it, but he,
Well, here we're all
Quite a
suffering
group,
from the
aren't we?
same thing. Yeah, we'll
But,
think of it in about 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah,
It'll
that's
come
all
to
right.
us.
Is that one that Scott Seeberger was talking about on our show?
yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
But he said I sent him a message, and he just said, "No, I'm not really interested."
Yep.
So I just said, "Okay."
We all did interviews with him and this and that, and furnished pictures. And
Well, I know Randy furnished a lot.
oh yeah, we all met with him, and he interviewed us, and it's just a tremendous amount of work. And then the bass player, Mike O'Brien, happened to move back to Midland, retired from, he was out west, and he worked as a writer for a technical writer.
Mhm.
So he was good friends with this guy. They're both bass players, so they got together and that helped it get finished, I think. So, but geez, what a nice thing to have, It's a keepsake.
Well,
Things
right.
this thick, it's unreal.
I tried to get a copy like a year ago, and
Yeah, he just sold them to the musicians, and that was it.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure he self-published it, right?
oh yeah,
probably.
Yeah, yeah. They were selling it, I know, at that record shop in Midland.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah,
Recently?
camps.
Yeah.
Yep, they went quick though.
Well,
Must have had a barcode.
I contacted them to see if they were interested in my books, to leave them there on consignment. They never got back to me.
You had a book out?
I have 2 of them
Oh,
on local music.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's that barcode, Fred.
Well, the
I'm
Midland
thinking,
Library, they have them.
I'm thinking,
Symbol
right
on
now,
that
and Scott, maybe the same thought came to you that, maybe Fred and Ziggy could get together and come up with a song called Barcode Blues.
I think Albert Collins already wrote one.
Oh, perfect.
I think it was
Perfect.
Well, you could always alter it slightly to Fred's Barcode Blues,
Yeah.
Really.
Oh boy.
Or build yourself.
Wait for this
as
third
Albert
book, though.
Collins.
There you go. Pull a keyhole, eh?
Can't play guitar though.
Fred's still working it though. He's quite the author. And you got your third book on the way, and think we'll get that next year? I know we've been talking for a couple of years, but
I'm changing it.
uh-oh.
I'm cutting out all the later rock and roll bands because they're on Gary's website.
Oh,
And
you
he's
going with
doing
mainly the
films
polka
of
and
it.
stuff? And
So why repeat it?
yeah,
So I have enough for country, jazz, blues, R&B, doo-wop.
Let's not
And then
forget
the
polka.
early-
yeah, you did a lot of polka
and the
work.
polka.
Come on, polka. All right.
And the early rock bands. And the original plan was to end it when 96 Tears became #1.
Oh, uh-huh.
But Tri-City Records, the R&B label, didn't start until 1969. Choker Campbell and
Oh,
Kenny Anderson's place. So I wanted, because that company has never been written about. No one knows, and the Tri-City Records are really, really collectible.
That's cool. I didn't really know about that.
No, I didn't either.
I've had quite a few things in this area from Owasso north.
Well, the guy he's dead now, I guess he committed suicide, from the Hughes Corporation, that big hit they had, which I can't think of it.
Rock the Boat?
Rock the Boat, yeah,
Oh,
Rock the
yeah.
Boat, baby.
Mm-hmm.
He started out on Tri-City.
I don't know how I came up with that, Fred.
yeah. I'm
Usually,
impressed.
Thank
usually
you.
take me 15, 20 minutes to come up with that song title.
Rock the Boat, yeah.
I don't know.
That was a huge hit.
So, Mark, you're recording your records at home. How many albums do you have out now?
In this new era of digital recording,
Yeah.
I'm just finishing up my fourth.
And
right
before that,
now. Oh, I had 4 more before that.
were
They're
they
done on
vinyl,
tape or
cassettes, vinyl,
no, they're CDs.
CDs? So you got about 8 records out then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I never really promoted those much though, or did. Just gave them to friends and that type of thing. Just kind of learning.
So you got the big box set coming out in a few
There
years.
you
now.
go.
Right.
Now, did you do any singles in the 60s or 70s when you were, because you said there was some
Oh, yeah.
original writing going on in some of those bands.
Slick City Rockers did a single.
Is that on 45?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you ever come across yourself on eBay or anything?
I had a hard time finding it because nobody had one.
Was that on Butterscotch? Was
Yeah.
that the label?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you can always eat it. The guy was all 50s. He was our booking agent too, Jerry Patlow.
Well, he's a famous name in, music circles in the Motor City,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah.
King of Greece is what he called himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, there's the start of your box set right there. You put that first single on there, let's digitize it, and what a collection that'll be for yourself. Boy. How many 45s or singles did you release until you became into cassettes or digital?
I really didn't do anything other than
Just the one.
We had some live stuff. We just released it on. It must have been cassettes back then,
Okay.
but and sold a few in the bar and that type of thing.
Kind of like a promo to get your band booked.
Yeah, things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people did that.
We never took enough pictures. I mean, I don't know what we were thinking, but
Well,
it
that
was-
comes up on our show a lot. I'm always
Nobody
asking about
did.
that, but yeah.
Mark.
it's just-
Nobody
it's
did.
just the gig, playing
Yeah.
the gig and you're having fun.
They're so rare, to see
Yeah.
anything, like anybody playing in clubs, especially. You don't see pictures.
Yeah.
In all those teen clubs, nobody, very few pictures.
Not like it is today.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, our jug band, you have to believe, what one of the members say, because there's no documentation, no pictures,
Yep.
nothing.
Well, that's why it's
Never
important
thought about it.
to write that down, to
know.
do books like you're doing, or the book on Midland, or whatever it happens to be. There's, there's got to be some record here, of what happened.
What's the name of that Midland book? I forgot to ask you guys.
Do you remember, Mark,
remember.
what the title of the Midland music book was that we were discussing?
Yeah, Midland rock and roll, and then
Something
the
like that,
years
yeah.
that they covered. That's what the
Oh,
name
okay.
Now, when you cut your single, that 45, what studio? I mean, this may have
We
been
went
what
to
you
Cloudborn down in Detroit.
Cloudborn.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
It's a name I haven't heard.
Yeah, they actually had a Grammy award and everything.
For what? Do you remember what went
I
through
don't
there?
remember what
No?
it was. When we were down there, they had a version of This Old Heart of Mine being done by this other singer. And it got on the radio, and everybody ran out of the studio and turned the car radios on.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
nice. Right while you were down there.
Yeah,
That's good timing.
So, 2 songs, $1,700. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
That is
$100 an hour.
That's for 1970, 69, 68,
Well, I was in the early 70s.
early 70s.
I begin to understand why the studio is no longer there.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's
everybody can do it at home now, so.
Well, plus, that's an awful lot of money, especially if let's say you're a young band or a young artist trying to start out,
Right.
And I hear a lot of stories back then. Some people would take the midnight shift with the brand new engineer, and they get it for a lot cheaper. Did you guys have a premier
Oh, yeah.
time and
We
all
had
that?
the guy,
and the
he
real
was-
and the
yeah.
guy. Okay,
And he was very helpful,
Yeah.
We had never really recorded before that, I don't think. But I can remember, on that level.
yeah.
But
Did you learn anything off that session other than the money aspect? I mean, did you man, I came home with this great knowledge of recording it all, or no? No?
When am I going to get a 2-inch tape machine?
Yeah, true.
And
Yeah.
all of these boxes he's got, this was way over our head. But
Yeah. What experience though?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Early 70s.
yep,
Wow.
yeah. The sound was fabulous. I mean,
When you guys were playing back then and doing that, did you share the stage with any other Michigan artists that was really hitting it at the time? Did you reunite with Wagner anywhere, or did you come across anybody
in the
that
'70s,
mentionable?
no, not really. You play your own gigs, and you wouldn't have that. The Blue Light was one thing. We were the house band,
Yeah.
and these other bands would come in. So we were never in a situation like that, really.
No festivals.
No, we didn't play any festivals.
Most of the gigs at that time were 4 and 5 nights a week, right?
What was your favorite?
The Slick City Rockers, though, those were all one-nighters.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a lot of.
That was the show band.
Yeah.
Well, you
yeah.
guys probably made Muko
We
just doing
did
the show.
really
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
But in the 70s thing, the multiple nights and all that, what were some of your favorite venues that you could tell us about?
Just mostly bars. The Slick City Rockers played mostly colleges and high schools, but there also were some Shirley's Swinger Lounge in Detroit was a 50s bar. They had some of the has-beens in there. The Shirelles sang in there, and that weren't famous anymore. Weren't happening, but they would book in there. And
Who did the booking? You?
Jerry Patlow.
Okay.
Yeah, he was our agent.
Wow.
The King of Greece,
Yeah.
Who else you gonna go with?
Yeah, he booked a lot of different artists
Yeah,
over
he
the
did.
years.
Now, there was a guy with almost that same last name. I thought it was. Was he a black guy?
I never met him.
Okay. No, I mean, the one your manager?
Never met him.
Oh,
You never met Patlow?
No.
Really?
because
Wow.
he put out some 12-inch records, some during the disco days,
Oh yeah.
and they're very collectible right now.
Hmm.
On I forget which label, and I think he might have had something to do with Ready for the World, the Flint group,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Platinum.
Now whether he was at one of our gigs or not, I don't remember. He might have been, but I don't think so. It was all kind of done on. He had his contacts, and he called us, and here, you want this one? You want to go here? You want to go there? So that's what it was.
You were talking about going to Canada with a Canadian band. Were you touring through Canada with that other
didn't
band
work
too?
out.
or-
I came back immediately. They broke up the day I got there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Did any of the other bands do a Canada in the loop? Or is it all
No, we
strictly
never
Michigan?
went up to Canada. No.
Just strictly Michigan.
No,
Yeah.
I was in Atlanta, Georgia for a while. Well, that's the closest we ever, with a guitar player from the 7th Court. We had a band down there. Can't for the life of me think of the name of it. But we played at a Holiday Inn there. It was a steady gig and everything. And he had an offer for record contract with Impulse Records, kind of a jazz thing. But they were bought by ABC Dunhill, who immediately discontinued the unprofitable jazz label.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
I've read
But
that in some things.
they had a promotion for the Southeast United States, was trying to find us a producer. I came down with my songs, and they just never found one, so that didn't come to pass. But he was in our corner for sure.
That'd have been fabulous.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I like the way my life turned out. You
Yes,
know what I
that's
mean?
great.
I see these guys and they're not that happy, you know, over the long run.
Well, it's
I
a
was
great.
happy.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
loved what I did. I loved my day jobs. I loved my bands I played in. You know, I have no regrets
You were successful
Yeah.
on your own terms
in life.
in life.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's
Well, being
that's
happy,
great.
I mean, really. That's,
Yeah, that's it.
you got your health, you're happy.
Didn't
you know,
become a drug addict,
that's right.
drunk or whatever.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So life is
Amazing.
good and creativity's there and
What are your favorite tools in the studio? Guitars and drum wise, you got old equipment still, or what do you use?
I don't use the drums anymore. It's a little strenuous to play drums after a certain age, especially the bass drum leg.
Yeah.
But they came out with this Addictive Drums. You know that program?
I'm familiar with it, but I've never used it.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Just fabulous. So I'm programming that, but I'm really writing the drum part. You know, it's MIDI.
Yeah.
So you're going in and you're moving everything around. So I'm playing it like I would have played it without the pain. So it works out great.
What about your other tools?
I do, Logic keeps giving you instruments for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
I've got a Steinway piano and a Yamaha piano that sound totally real, a Hammond organ that's out of this world.
I mean, do you have any of your old touring equipment that you use in the studio? Like a Fender Strat or something?
You know,
You know-
my guitar collection has rolled over many times.
Has it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm playing Paul Reed Smith guitars now.
Oh, wonderful. Jeez.
Yeah, and they have a sound all their own.
Yeah, they do.
Just fabulous. And mostly on this new one is when I made the switch. So if you get a chance to hear that, that's a
One that's coming out.
yeah. I've just got a everything's recorded and mixed. It was one of those nights we were under a spell. It might have been magic, you never can tell. What could it be that brought you to me? Was it the night? Just meant to be on a night like that. It's a natural fact. We're gonna jump in and never look back. You caught my eye, and that was that. Anything can happen on a night like that. It was one of those nights we were under a spell. It might have been magic, you never can tell. What could it be that brought you to me? Was it the night, or just meant to be on a night like that?
just meant to be.
If you go on my Facebook page, I've been posting the songs as I get them done, and they're just very emotional songs. They're
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of them. They're really nice.
And the comments are, in fact, my wife's niece said, "I don't know anything about music, but your music moves me." So now that is a compliment. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it certainly is.
Yeah.
So so the Paul Reed Smith guitars are used on there, and the new pianos that I have and everything. So it's really a cut above everything.
We can't wait for it, Mark.
Yeah,
Thank you
definitely
for
get your.
thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a pleasure to meet you and listen to your story.
too.
Yeah, it's been outstanding.
Thanks, Mark.
Really great.
Wow, thanks for having me.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP 989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. Don't forget to look for Mr. Mike's local music live series, posted frequently on MMHP's Facebook hub, as well as Scott's Mid-Mitten 15 from Harvest Canteen, featuring one-on-one interviews with Michigan music artists. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, Mr. Mike at YouTube at Mr. BT1. That's MRBTEE and the number 1. Brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of our hosts, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and myself, this podcast wouldn't have been here without the voice of the MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, the generosity of the Bay County Historical Museum, which hosts the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame, as well as this podcast, Mr. Alan Garcia, all of our guests, and especially to the listeners. We want to thank you.
Good.
What a deep history of, and that you're proud of it all. That's winner, chicken dinner right there, man. That's,
Absolutely.
that's good. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to do that, geez.
Yeah. What a history.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, and giving us this outline was outstanding.
Yeah.
I made
So we're
this
really-
for my own memory problem.
Well,
it worked out.
yes, it worked out perfectly. Yes, we went right along with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
I had to do
outstanding.
that I was being interviewed one time, and I thought, boy, I don't want to
Better
get
do
all
it,
screwed
yeah.
up. So I kind of wrote one like this.
I'm sitting there, my phone's wherever you go. You're sitting there and you're watching, you're talking to your wife or watching something on TV, and something will come up from an actor in a movie that you can't think of their name. I Google it. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
stand the
me
way.
too.
Oh, I know it. Well, that's the beauty of having that phone with you. It's like
Yeah.
having this incredible font of knowledge right at your fingertips.
is.
Yeah, we use it all the time too.
Yeah, I just bought at Costco in Midland a huge box of baklava. So I got to eat it all. So I eat 2 of them.
That depends how fat the
right.
joint is.
Well, everybody's different,
Yeah.
Freddie's like, I'm looking up shit and eating baklava. It's all fucked up in
Oh,
here.
I'll just eat 2 other, they're little.
Get inspired to do a little bit of clicking and recording while you're at it there.
No, but